it's Ep108.5 and welcome to the Millionaire Insider. Thank you so much for joining us. For over 30 years, I've been advising and researching the top 1% and 2% of millionaires to learn what millionaires with amazing lives do differently. And now I'm providing you practical, easy to implement insight so that you can succeed in your business, in your life, and with your money. And today we're diving into a bonus episode. How millionaires handle crisis. Is it an unprecedented opportunity or a nightmare crisis? Let's face it, my friends, millionaires with amazing lives do things differently, and today I'm sharing with you how they handle crises. So let's dive in. This training is one that I gave to my mastermind community because so many people were having a crisis. They didn't know what to do. They were thinking, I need to think differently. I need to know what I need to do. And it brings me to a story of an advisor that I recently had a conversation with. He shared he wasn't achieving his objective, wasn't earning his desired revenue, felt like he had never been able to really get the momentum he needed to achieve his goals. And I started talking to him and learning about what he was doing and finding out what insight he had regarding clients that have money and how to better serve them. I recommended that he go and listen to some of the recordings that we've done in over on YouTube in the Millionaire Insider. You can go to millionaireseries.com/MI and see all the episodes there, or you can go to youtube.com and go to the Millionaire Insider to see all the episodes. And I said, go and listen to some of the conversations I've had with different millionaires. And right away, he's like, oh, I don't have time for that. And I said, what do you mean you don't have time for that? He said, oh, I'm way too busy. And I said, well, let me ask you a different question. I said, I obviously run a mastermind for advisors. Do you think that I need to know about advisors and what challenges you're facing for me to be able to serve you? Oh, absolutely. And do you think I need to be able to get into your mindset and understand, the barriers you have, the blocks you have, what you're not seeing, what you are seeing? Of course. And I said, how's that different to working with affluent clients? And it was like this long pause. He goes, I've never thought of that. No one has ever brought that to my attention. Everything I learn is all about what can I do to sell more? What can I do to achieve my goals? What can I do to make my quota? And the reality of it is sometimes we're so busy on that, gerbil wheel running as fast as we can that we miss out on what we need to do to achieve the results we want. And so I really encourage you to go into this YouTube channel and really look at some of the conversations I've had. Some of the key ones include 104. So you can go to millionaireseries.com/104YT. That's an interview I did with Dina Fliss, a game-changing interview. And listen to the whole thing. Don't only listen to it, but apply it. Millionaireseries.com/108YT, Steve Ledson of Ledson Winery. Again, so many huge nuggets in that interview. But then other ones, millionaireseries.com/106YT, which is how to program your mind like a millionaire. If you want to become successful, you want to work with successful people, you've got to show up in a manner in which you can do it. And that's what these episodes teach you. So I really encourage you to go in there, take advantage of them. The rest is going to be history. So before we dive in, please click subscribe. This will allow you to get notified when we offer bonus episodes. And also remember to leave a comment so that we can see where you're applying this and where you're really getting value. Today's bonus episode is sponsored by the 3 insider secrets to generate leads. You can go to millionaireseries.com/lead generation and you can access this free training. Again, it's the 3 insider secrets to generate leads, and it's at millionaireseries.com/lead generation. If you need or want more ideal qualified prospects, this is a must attend. So please go and access it. We always have a disclosure before we begin. All materials and intellectual property are copywritten by themillionaireseries.com. The information we provide is not intended to replace any advisor or specialist or to provide you investment, financial, tax, retirement, or any planning or any healthcare advice. Before beginning any plan, you agree to consult with your own team of advisors and to review your situation. All participants agree to hold MillionaireSeries.com and its affiliates harmless for results achieved or not achieved, and all international copyrights are reserved. So for today's show notes and resources, go to MillionaireSeries.com/bonus-MC. For all show notes, go to MillionaireSeries.com/MI. And we have one other free resource. You can go to MillionaireSeries.com/20MIS to get 20 of the most critical millionaire insider secrets you need to win in your business, in your life, and with your money. That is a free guide, and it's extremely helpful to really get you on track to achieving your goals. So again, I want to welcome you to the Millionaire Insider, and today we're diving into unprecedented opportunity or nightmare crisis, 7 steps on how millionaires handle crises. So let's dive in. All right, please turn off your distractions, any and all distractions. Our brain can only focus on one thing at a time. So any of you that believe in multitasking, wrong. If you are multitasking, and believe me, I suffer from the same illness, my friend. The problem is that you're not going to pick up on what you need to pick up on. And it tells me that you're still operating from your limbic brain, because your limbic brain says, oh, I got to go do this. Oh, hey, I could do this while she's talking. Oh, I don't really need that. It's like, if you have all the market share you need, get off the call and go keep doing what you're doing. You've got to engage with this, my friends. You're getting basically one of the calls that would normally only be available to my mastermind. And I'm giving you everything you need. Now, some of you will take it, some of you won't, I get that. But what I want you to do is I want you to commit that you're at least going to tune in. Turn off the cell phone. All right, I'm here, turned off, here, ready, all off. Everything's off, I'm engaged. Okay. All right, awesome, great to see you guys. Okay, so we already went over this. Where are you? Scared to death, don't know what to do, confident, there's always an opportunity, my clients are calm, I'm completing my normal ritual, I'm completing a minimum of 4 hours each day on high-value activities. Most people shared that they are confident. Some people said, I'm confident, my clients are calm, but I am a little nervous. It would be abnormal, my friends, for you not to be nervous. This is unprecedented time. It's a challenge. Okay, so in any market, especially when others are freaking out, and most are because they're limbic, meaning most people's brains are not trained. They don't know what to do, right? I mean, if you think about it, my friends, most people don't even think about what they're doing. They're so unconscious. Everything they do and think is ran by this limbic brain. I'm just going to share with you the reason I can be so honest about it is because I was like that the majority of my life. It wasn't until I was in my 30s, late 30s, that I really started really understanding all of this. And it was because I was so fascinated to figure out why some people had amazing lives and others had horrible lives. Why some people achieved amazing success and others failed. And this is what I continue to find in the research I'm doing right now. So let's look at the 7 insights on how millionaires handle a crisis. Who on the call has been through a crisis before? So I began in the financial services doing an internship in 1987, Black Friday. My friends, people were jumping out of buildings. They were committing suicide. I was a waitress, a part-time waitress. One of the bankers that came in and frequented my restaurant said, I got into my car in the garage, turned on the ignition, and at the last minute, I realized I'm not going to commit suicide. And I remember thinking, holy moly, like this is serious. I then go into my options class. I believe it was like the following Monday. I think that was like on a Friday. And my professor looked like, hell, he looked terrible. His face was white. He looked like he'd been crying. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody died. And he said, I just want to let you guys know, I felt I owed it to you to come talk to you. And to this day, I can just feel it in my whole body. He said, I contemplated killing myself this weekend. I was naked on my option position, something I've taught you guys not to be. I'm going to lose everything. He said, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. Don't ever be a hog. I'll tell you, that stuck with me forever. Then in 2001, we had 9/11, and then in 2008. Now, this is the fascinating thing about 2008. It was literally one of the biggest economic crises of our time. I remember thinking, okay, we're definitely going into a recession, probably a depression. It was so scary. For anyone that was in the market, it was so scary. The fact that we survived that, to me, to this day, is mind-blowing. When you have a financial crisis, and right now it's a very different time because the banks are okay and because the Fed has been through this, they are a lot more concerned about making sure they're okay. See, in 2008, you look at there was a great interview with a gentleman from the Fed that was on 60 Minutes. And he said, we learned from that. He said, we weren't quick enough to turn on the money. And he ran for, I think, senator or governor in California on the Republican ticket. So he's conservative, but he said we didn't turn it on fast enough. We've learned from that. Well, right now the crisis is not economic. Now, it's pushing us into somewhat of an economic crisis, but from every indicator I get and every person I'm listening to, when this crisis, this pandemic subsides, I think we're going to take off like we've never seen before. There are so many opportunities, my friends, and yeah, somebody said great segment. It was a great segment, and it wasn't political at all. It was all about looking at what they did right, what they did wrong, what they're doing now. And I felt even more confident after I listened to that. For some of you, and I know it's hard not to get overly emotional and be bothered by this. I don't want you to spend a ton of time, but I want you to at least spend enough time that you know what's going on. We are not prepared like a country should be prepared. I get that. Now that we know the facts, we know this is horrific. We know that people are going to be dying. They're going to have to choose, do you live, do you die? I mean, it's just unconceivable. I get all that, and I'm not okay with it, and I think it's appalling. This is where we are. And this, my friends, is one of the biggest difference of people who are successful and people who aren't, is we've got to accept where we are. We've got to create a plan, and we've got to move forward. And we can sit there and we can blame. It's not going to do us a lot of good. But what you need to do right now is you've got to step up and you've got to be the leader that people need. That's what they need now. That's what millionaires do differently. So the first thing that millionaires do is they manage their emotions. They know how to hit that pause button and to reassess, reevaluate, and redirect. Now, not all millionaires. There are millionaires that are below the grid. There are millionaires that have miserable lives. I'm talking about millionaires that have amazing lives, are going to come out on top of this, and also are going to have a good quality life in the process. They act out of intention, focus, and clarity versus fear, worry, and anxiety. And we talked about, we all have that primitive limbic brain that was created 2 million years ago. It's there to protect us, keeps us stuck like we're some little immature 5-year-old kid. It feeds on our dopamine, cortisol. It wants whatever it wants. It wants it now. It reacts to whatever it wants to react to. And then we have our prefrontal cortex. This is our more new brain, our rational brain. It's where our plan and our strategy comes from. Now, the one thing you got to do when you're setting your goals is your limbic brain and your prefrontal cortex, those have to be in alignment or you got a problem. So let's review the first step to managing your emotions. And some of you that are in my mastermind, you already know this, but I'm going to review it. It's your worth barometer. So I literally started studying this literally over 4 decades ago when I was still in high school. What I've been fascinated by is to say, why do some people achieve amazing results and others struggle? And for some of you that aren't really familiar with me, I've ran a performance mastermind now for 14 years. I'm one of the most successful in the world based on results. We have never, in the course of our years of this, ever had anyone in our mastermind that has done the work that's not had measurable results. That's crazy. I can't guarantee results. I'm not allowed to by law. I shouldn't be allowed to, but that's crazy. So how do we get results? This is something that actually I've considered going back and getting my PhD on. I'm working right now with some different psychologists. I'm fascinated by this because this in and of itself is going to dictate more about your business and your life than anything else you're going to learn from me. So I hope you really take heart and you listen to it. It's that powerful. Your worth barometer is the key to the results you're getting, and it's your beliefs and your self-esteem. And if you do one thing, consistently work on your worth barometer. So a few years ago, we'd always get people that would say, well, how do you know where your worth barometer is? What do you do? So we created this grid. For some people, this may trigger you, and if it does, I'm sorry. This is what I find, my friends. So for some of you that when I go through this and you get triggered, people get triggered if they're below the grid, right? Now, I lived below the grid for many years of my life. So if you say this is you, please understand. We've all been there, and some of us are still there. And even if we live the majority of our time above the grid, it's still easy to get triggered and go below the grid, especially if we don't know how to hit the pause button. So my big thing is always, when can I hit the pause button? Do I need to hit the pause button? When somebody responds, do I hit the pause button? And sometimes I do a really good job of it, and sometimes I don't. But above the grid pulls you, below the grid pushes you. When you're below the grid, you don't do the activities you need to complete to achieve your desired results. That's the bottom line. So let's look at this. Above the grid, can do, will do attitude, optimistic outlook, take responsibility and ownership, energy's high, focuses on the solution, a win-win. Healthy worth barometer, high emotional intelligence, do the work to get the results. And then at the grid, level 2, they understand it, but they rationalize or justify their actions. And then below the grid, they lack personal ownership or responsibility. They're a victim, meaning a lose-win. They lose, you win, or a bully. They win, you lose. Their energy's low. Their focus is always on the problem. They spend their time blaming everyone else. It's never their fault. They have excuses. They're always in search of the silver bullet. It wreaks havoc in their business, their life, their investments. They attract challenges and problems, less than ideal clients. They lack focus. They don't do the work, and then they blame someone else. Is anyone triggered? It can trigger people. The reason I'm sharing this with you, my friends, is that if you want to win in your business and life, you have to learn this. You've got to be showing up above the grid. See, the problem is that when a person is below the grid, that's what you attract. You attract people that aren't where they want to be, that lack ownership, that lack responsibility. If you want to attract people that you enjoy working with, that are open-minded, that are focused on win-win, that are looking for the good, you have to be above the grid. And if you're not above the grid, it's going to show up in different aspects of your life. Now, it's not that you can't be below the grid and have money. When you're below the grid and have money, you just have a miserable life. You're not happy. You don't have the relationships you want. You don't have the health you want. You don't make great choices. You don't make the choices that allow you to really show up at your best. Some people that could be triggered could either go one of two places. You either go to the fact that you're angry and you're like, oh, how dare she? Or you go to the place of oh my gosh, I'm not enough. Oh, I'm a loser. So people can go either way. And what I want you to do is understand that just by the fact that literally we've not had anyone drop off the call, it just tells me that you guys are healthy and that you have the insight down pat. Because when people get triggered on this, they either say something mean or they leave. That says a lot about you. So now we're going to have a little quiz to see where you are and how you show up here. Okay, choose which one. Which is above the grid? Confidence or fear? Action versus inaction. Focusing in on opportunities versus wait and see. Reaction versus action. Anxiety versus calmness. Happiness versus sadness. Creating a plan versus running by the seat of your pants. A win-win versus a win-lose or a lose-win. Being right versus being in relation with another. And then executing your plan versus focusing on excuses. All right, you guys got it. All right, so it's confidence, action, focusing on opportunities, again, action, calmness, happiness, creating a plan, win-win, being in relationship, and then executing on our plan. Okay, it's obvious, right? And we're not triggered. Who on this call knows what triggers you? Lies, okay? the words, I'm not interested. Okay. BS. I love that one. That's a great one. Someone with a closed mind. All right, so I'll tell you what triggers me. Like what totally triggers me is somebody that is so extreme in their views that they can't understand anyone else's. This is how I see the world, and I'm right and you're wrong. And that does trigger me. And I have to put a pause button on, and I have to say, got to think that through, right? Because it's easy to respond to that. Not being heard. Yeah, when people are polarized, like as advisors, there are so many advisors that see the world through their lens. It's great to see the world through your lens if everyone else sees the world through your lens. But I'm here to tell you that half of what you believe is not true, regardless of where you stand. And see, that's where then a person starts getting, triggered. Oh my God. We got to be aware of that, my friends. We got to be aware of it. It'll be the kiss of death, or it's going to be the opportunity of a lifetime. All right, number 2, they have a plan and prepare for the unexpected. So now this is what I thought was fascinating, is so many people are saying business as usual. And I'm like, what? I'm like, well, sort of. Yes, we're making adjustments, we're upping our activity, but we're executing our plan. And then when I got insight on, well, what are billionaires doing? They're saying they're doing okay. Banks are working with them, so they're happy. I mean, they're aware of it, they're concerned about it, but they're dealing with it. They've got a plan, they're adjusting their plan, they're going through it. You know, having gold, having cash, having jewels. I mean, we bought a home outside the US, so we have an option. Now we can't get in and out of the country, so we're kind of stuck here. But those are the things I'm talking about. The other thing they have is they have a winning formula. Foundation, their inner game, strategy, their game plan, and execution, their outer game. So again, they've got that working for them. They're not just focused in on the outer game, they're focused in on their formula, which is a combination of inner game, game plan, outer game. All right, number 3, they focus on what they can control. Big difference. All right, so let's look at this. We're going to do another little test. What I want you to put down is a Y and an N, and then what you're going to do is you say how the pandemic was or is being handled. Can you control that? So next to Y, you're going to say A, or you're going to say next to an A. So again, can you control that? Can you control what the leaders are saying on TV and how long it took them to respond? Can you control that? So next to the N, it'll be next to the N a B, or next to the Y a B. How many people are dying? Where you go, the protocol you follow to be safe. Staying at home even if you're not required to. All right, this is what I want you to get, my friends. And this is where you can tell where a person is from an emotional standpoint. I understand the frustration in how this is being handled by leaders. I get it. Can I control that? I mean, people are just up in arms about that. I mean, like you go on Facebook and it's like, oh, this is just appalling. It's crazy. Like, okay, they want to be out and they're going to harm themselves as long as they're not harming me and my family. I can't control that, right? I can't control what is on the Twitter feed. I can't control how somebody's limbic and they just go off, right? And yet people get so focused on that. The reason people get focused on that is because it allows them not to focus in on their own business and their own life. That's what I want you to get clear on. So if you find yourself going limbic, now, I find that when I see these doctors and nurses crying, saying how scared they are, how hard this is, it does scare me. It's like, it's hard to watch. And they don't have the supplies. I mean, I just think this is ludicrous. And if I had masks, if I had something I could do, I would be doing it. But what I can do is I can control the rules of my home. I can, practice wiping down, social distancing. I can stay positive. I can stay optimistic and hopeful. I can pray. I can help people in my community. I can help my clients, my neighbors. I can continue to call my clients. And again, I can focus on what I can control. Whatever happens to you or in your situation, all I want you to do is pause and say, can I control that? If you can control it, great. If you can't, you got to let it go. Successful people understand and embrace the KKDK. The KK is we know what we know. We know our name, we know our spouse's name. The KDK is we know what we don't know. Like, I don't know how to fly planes. My brother happens to be a captain of an airline. He knows how to fly planes. I don't. I know that. Then there's the areas that we don't know, what I referred to as the DK. Most people think that the secret to success lies there. But what I find is that those areas are where people are more open to changing because they don't know that information, so they're not limbic about it. Like they're like, oh, that makes sense. Okay, yeah, I'll change. It becomes really hard to change something is when we become limbic and we get into that fight mode of like, I'm going to protect how I feel. And that's the KKDK. The KKDK is what we know that we don't know. And times like this are really important because we really are able to see insight we didn't. Like, how is our business structured? How are we generating revenue? Is it only commissions? Is it only fees? Is it only assets under management? I don't disagree that there's opportunity there, but the issue is that the KKDK is 10 times more important because that's where our limbic brain kicks in and we'll fight it. They think the solution is in the areas you know that you don't know. It's not, because we're open to changing that. See, if you can change your KKDK, what you know that you know for sure, like you know this is a fact, that's where levels of production, levels of growth are unprecedented. And this is one thing that I've seen over the course of my career, as well as diving into now what we're experiencing right now, is that the major difference between people who get this and that are super successful is that they want a differing opinion than what they believe. They're able to say, let me pause, let me listen to this, and then make a decision based on that. Doesn't mean I'm going to change their opinion, but they don't want somebody that agrees with them. Let's face it, the one thing you guys have to know about me is that I'm not going to just say, okay, fine, right? I'm going to analyze something. I might challenge it, right? And see, that is very different than what a lot of people do, because a lot of people are just trying to sell somebody something, tell them what they want to hear so they can buy something. Super successful people don't want that. They want somebody that has an ability to look at things differently, analyze it, and see the opportunity in it. They want to see what's missing. People with low emotional intelligence, they get scared and limbic because their values, their whole being is being challenged. They learn from experience. It's so easy to beat people up and say what they didn't do. Now, I understand if somebody continues to walk in the rabbit hole, it's easier. But what we got to realize is right now we are where we are. And what we've got to realize is that our clients that get limbic, we've got to be there to listen to them. And you can either agree with them or acknowledge them. You don't have to agree with them. You can acknowledge them. And then you've got to be able to come in and get them on track, focused on their situation, not the White House, their house. They pay attention to facts and they want different opinions. I always found it fascinating in my career where I would meet with a new prospective client and they would bring all their stuff, and at some level they wanted me to tell them that everything was fine. And it's like, well, everything's not fine. They want me to tell them it is. And in fact, it was oftentimes, do you know the most common time that this would happen is when it was the woman making the husband come in and meet with me. Like, she's like, things are not in order. And he's like, oh, they are. And all he wants to do is get her to shut up so that they can get back to harmony in their house and they can go on as business as usual. And they come in my office. Oftentimes they would be at one of my workshops. So for some of you guys that are in PMA 360 that are in the feeder workshop, you get all those questionnaires. Well, they would fill out those questionnaires, and my questionnaires are like this. It's like a financial planning questionnaire. And so ask them a question. What about this? What about that? The estate planning questionnaire. And I would say, don't cheat. Like, you can't cheat. You can't look at your spouses and vice versa. And you'd always hear this high-pitched laugh because you knew that somebody knew, somebody didn't. And then one would get done and it would say, oh, everything's fine. The other one would get done. It would be like, call 911. You're in a desperate situation. So those people would come and meet with me, clearly because the wife wanted them to, not because the husband did. And the husband would be there to tell me how everything's taken care of. And I would start going through something and I would say, and I'm going to give you an actual real world example. $30 million account. And, he's there to say everything's fine. And she's there saying, I'm not comfortable. And I said, who's Joe Blow? And she's like, oh, he was a friend of ours 20 years ago, alcoholic, in and out of rehab. We don't even stay in touch with him. I go, oh, well, did you know that if something happens to your husband, He's going to be a co-trustee with you. True story. Needless to say, I started working with that client. But those are the things that they try to do. Oh, everything's okay here. Everything's okay here? Who's the beneficiary on your life insurance policy? Who's this person that's the beneficiary of your 401k or your IRA rollover? Oh, that's my ex-wife. Oh, do you think that's a problem? And then the new wife's over there going, I'm not the beneficiary? Because let's face it, so many people do not have their affairs in order. Like they think they do. We got married. Oh, no, we have a will. Oh, well, a lot of good that does if your beneficiary designation is leaving the ex-wife the money. I mean, it's just fascinating. Now, some states, like if you have a will or a trust and you get divorced, it automatically, they're automatically removed. But, when you have a lunatic as your co-trustee with you, it's a problem. Those are things that I'm talking about. And what you find in all of this is people who can handle other facts and other opinions are very clear on their values and their principles. And I want to talk about one other thing that I just find absolutely fascinating, and it's fake news. So one of the things that's so interesting about fake news, and I don't care which side of the aisle you're on, because everyone uses it. Whenever anyone uses that term, it's because they want you to believe something is false. So what it's happened is like, oh, well, that's fake news. I even hear people saying that, and I'm like, go search on the internet, watch the video. Go read the feed. But see, that's where we become so limbic, is that if we want it to be true, then it is. If we don't, it's not. So what we've got to do as leaders, my friends, we've got to research and confirm the facts before we open our mouth. Again, that's somewhere where you push the pause button. It's insanity to take somebody's opinion as true or false, as evidence, until we know the facts. We got to know that. And that's one thing millionaires do. And they execute. Regardless how they feel, they execute. They're making calls. They're doing the things they need to do. So let's look at some of the things you can do. First of all, rise rested, ideally without an alarm clock. So you need to go to bed early enough so that you don't have an alarm clock when you get up. Then you know you've gotten enough sleep. And ideally, what time do we go to bed, my friends? Between 9 and 9:30, really between 9 and 10. And what do we do 60 to 90 minutes before we go to bed? No electronics. No computer, focused breathing, silent meditation. So our biggest increase in assets under management last year was up 72%. What do you think the first thing I recommended he do that he did? Now, he just so happened to watch Fox News right before he went to bed. I said, stop it. You can get the news, a little bit of news. I want you listening to all the major news cases. He wants to work with women. I'm like, you can't just be watching Fox News if you want to work with women. You've got to watch mainstream, ABC, CBS, all that, because that's where they're getting it. I had him stop watching that before he went to bed. Any type of news is bad before you go to bed because it just screws with your head. It gets you in a completely agitated state, and then you're trying to go to sleep and get good sleep. But that's the first thing he did, is he quieted down his limbic brain, stopped getting fed all this stuff that's just there to agitate you. Like, if you guys haven't realized, wherever you're watching your news, just start paying attention to it. And if you can let yourself go back and say, I don't really know anything, and I'm just here like observing, you're going to be flabbergasted at what you're going to find. Like, it's like, wow, this is unbelievable. Because what happened, they're all there trying to trigger us. They all do it. Before you leave your office, you've got to complete your T5. We'll talk about that in a minute. Complete your morning ritual. How many of you have a morning ritual? Your focused breathing, meditation, and ideally both, and prayer, silent meditation and or prayer. Set your intention for the day, practice yoga, drink 16 ounces of water, drink 1 cup of green tea that's got catechins, L-theanine in, especially important right now with the coronavirus. Limit and or avoid coffee. Write out your affirmative goals. I am or I active verb. And then complete your cardiovascular exercise. Okay, take time to confirm your T5 is accurate. So your T5 is your top 5 activities you're going to do each day when you get in your office. And you want to do those the day before. Develop a winning attitude. I got this under control. Focus on what you can control and let the other stuff go. You cannot control. God, if people would just stop trying to control what everyone out there is doing. The problem is what I want you to get is the more you're fixated on what they're doing or not doing, the less you're fixated and focused where you need to be focused on your own being and doing. Complete your focused breathing exercise in the AM, in the PM, and throughout the day. This is how you're going to learn how to master your focus. And then you want to complete 4 to 6 high-value activities and income-producing activities each day. These are activities that you need to complete to achieve your goal. You want to complete at least 4 business power hours a day, ideally right now, 6 to 8. You should be doing as many as you can. My big producers, they're doing about 70% of their time is on clients and 25 to 30% is on prospecting. And then I have some people that are even less, some people that are more like 10, 90. So depending on where your business is, you're going to be somewhere between 70 and 90% is going to be focused on clients, and 10 to 25% is going to be focused in on prospects. But don't forget prospects. Right now is a great time to be prospecting. So we have 50 to 70 minutes. That's a power hour. And business power hours are BPHs. We complete that, followed by a 7 to 10 minute power break where we're moving our arms, moving our legs, and then 3 minutes of focused breathing, in through your nose to the count of 8, hold for 8, release for 12, and then followed by focusing in on what we want more of, the emotion we want more of, letting go the other stuff we don't want. This is going to improve your ability to focus and reduce your amygdala. That's your irrational emotional space. Like for some people, that's much more irrational, but it's where we have those limbic responses. And then finally, setting your intention for the next power hour. All right, so we got to slow down, simplify our life. I want to have a simplified life. I'm really focusing on simplifying things. And my life is pretty complicated, and I want to do everything I can to simplify it. I actually would like to become a minimalist. I'm like, okay, does that mean I have to get rid of all my shoes? I'm not quite there, but I'd love to be. Remove clutter. Remove anything that's not adding value. Focus on what you want versus what you don't want. Actions you can take. Remain calm. How we choose to see this dictates more about us than anything else. Pick up the telephone. Call your clients and prospective clients. Listen. You've got to have a plan for a crisis, and if you didn't before now, moving forward, hopefully you will. You got to discuss the plan you've created with your clients and remind them of it. Remind them of their time frame. And if you thought the economy was healthy before this and the market was not overvalued, you should be ecstatic, right? If the economy is so healthy, the economy was relatively healthy. It was just this looming problem we had that concerned me. The deficit, number 2, global warming. Everyone tries to make global warming, talk about an issue that can trigger people. They want to make it political, right? Like if I'm concerned about global warming, then I am some liberal, tree-hugging, crazy woman. Yeah, I want the environment. I'm concerned about the environment. I do strongly believe that if we don't have a healthy population, it's hard to have a healthy economy. But what I'm also concerned about is look at the effects global warming is already having on the insurance companies. It's a problem. And one of the things no one's talking about is, a lot of these immigrants are coming up. I didn't even realize this. I coach a lot of big producers one-on-one, and so I get a lot of the intel that they get from their different sources. And the one thing I commonly kept seeing is the focus on global warming. Now, I've been concerned about it more from the insurers, carriers, but what they're saying is people are having to flee because it's no longer more agricultural, meaning because it's so much more desert landscape, and cartels have taken over, drugs have taken over, gangs have taken over. It's just so dangerous. Right now we have, thousands of people trying to come across? What happens when there's millions? Those are things that I think left unaddressed are going to be devastating to our economy. Reminding them what their time frame is. And as I mentioned, in VIP L4, a lot of those scripts are there that we just did. So if you need them, go there. All right, master your level of thinking. The quality of your life and business are dictated by your level of thinking. You got to evaluate your worth barometer daily. your belief in your self-esteem. It is the biggest indicator of your success. You got to consistently complete your high-value activities and your income-producing activities. And you got to realize only you get to decide, are you going to make this something amazing, or are you going to make this your biggest nightmare, your biggest disaster? So let's take a minute and recap. Number one, they manage their emotions. Whether they're dealing with money, whether they're dealing with a crisis, they manage their emotions. They are emotionally intelligent. Now, these are people with amazing lives. I'm not saying that all millionaires are like this, but they have an ability to push the pause button. They have a plan and they prepare for the unexpected. They always have a contingency plan. And it's just kind of like being prepared. They're very clear on what they can control and what they can't control, and they put their energy towards what they can control. They embrace the areas of what they know that they don't know. Those blind spots, those spots that we're convinced this is the way it is, but maybe it's not. They want people that challenge their beliefs so that they can see the big picture. So different than their counterparts. They learn from their experience and they value experience, and they let go of the need to be right. Obviously, there are a lot of people that have a need to be right, but one of the things that was so fascinating to me is how many of the millionaires I worked with and that I researched that just did not have a need to control everything. Yeah, they were really clear on where they were going and they really took the driver's seat, but they weren't ones to really have to be right, meaning in front of their employees, they would let their employees take the lead. They would let others take the lead. It was fascinating to me. They pay attention to facts and they want different opinions. They don't want people that just agree with them. They execute. Whether they feel like it or not, they execute. Absolutely critical, absolutely essential. So there you have it, 7 steps on how millionaires handle crises. If you learned one thing, it's more of how millionaires think, how affluent clients think, which is not only going to help you as far as if you want to serve them, but also help you from a perspective as far as becoming financially free and also having an amazing life. So I really hope you just start where you are, begin by applying 1 or 2 of the steps, and before you know it, you're going to be fast forward to where you want to be. So please go down and subscribe. Subscribe. If you want the Millionaire Insider mug, please go down and comment. I want people engaged and I want people that are applying the material. That's who gets a mug. So for today's show notes, you can go to millionaireseries.com/bonus-MC. For all shows, go to millionaireseries.com/MI. The free resource for today is our 20 Millionaire Insider Secrets. You can go to millionaireseries.com/20MIS to access that for free. And today's bonus episode is sponsored by the 3 Insider Secrets to Generate Leads. You can go to millionaireseries.com/lead generation. Again, millionaireseries.com/lead generation to access the 3 Insider Secrets to Generate Leads. If you want more ideal, profitable clients, this is a must attend. Most people that are having challenges in their business is because they have not mastered lead generation. You've got to become a lead generating magnet. And this masterclass is going to show you how. It's going to show you 3 of the most critical insider secrets to generate leads so that you can start generating them. All you need to do now is just start, just take action. And before you know it, you're going to be so much further ahead than where you are today. So this is Annette Bau, host of the Millionaire Insider. All international copyrights are reserved. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you next time. Bye now.